Hey, what's up, everyone? I get asked all the time that what should I do to get my offer accepted? Hey, this is Saeed. I'm a residential real estate broker here in Michigan and a team lead at Amin Realty. I am the founder of Real Estate Sales Machine, and I want to talk about today what do we need to do to get our offer accepted. I know there is a lot of buyers that are in my network, and you might be hearing this. I wanted to make this video especially for real estate agents out there that are struggling to get your offer accepted, to kind of give you a basis, a foundation for you to get your offers accepted in this competitive market. But before I go in there, I really want to talk to some of the buyers that are in the market, maybe struggling to get into the house that you're looking for, or struggling to get your offer accepted on a house that that may be suitable for you and your family. All I can tell you, buyers, as far as your homework when it comes to be competitive on in the market, is to work with the right agent. There is nothing better. There's no other better advice I can give you on this, except for telling you to work with the right agent. And who is the right agent really depends on what you are looking to accomplish. If you're Whether you are looking for an investment property, or you are looking for a first time home buyer situation, or if you're looking to upgrade or downgrade. So whatever that you are looking to do, based on that, you would have to decide who would be the right agent for you. But I can give you a starting point and to let you know who not to work with. Number one person that you would not want to work with is the listing agent directly. You have to understand that listing agent, by definition and by fact, they have a contract to represent the seller's best interest in a transaction. I understand there are a lot of unethical real estate agents out there who do not look at the seller's best interest and work with the buyers, so they are able to kind of double dip on the transaction. In real estate, double dipping really means that you represent both sides in a transaction and you get paid more, and you don't have to share the commission that you have, that you are getting paid from seller, with anyone else if there is a buyer agent in the picture. So the number one reason you don't want to work with listing agents is that by contract, by fact, they represent the seller's best interest. There is no way they can represent the seller's best interest while also representing your best interest in a transaction. Regardless if you can get your offer accepted or not, know that your best interest is not represented in a situation where you work with the listing agent directly, and you do not want to be in that situation. You, in this market, the way it is right now, I know a lot of people are still pessimist about where this market is going, but we are very, very optimistic of this market and where it's going in the next 3 to 5 years. So comparing where we see the market is going in the next 3 to 5 years, to this year is just the starting point. You might think that this boom has been happening since 2011 and 2014 and then 2018, and then now 2020 we saw a crazy bump, and then 2021. And a lot of people are thinking that this market is going to go down, but we are not going anywhere, guys. This is probably going to be the craziest real estate market in the last 3 decades, and in the future decades coming up. So it is going to be a very aggressive market. So you do not want to be in a situation in this market working with the listing agents directly, who have a contract to who have a legal obligation to represent the seller's best interest. And if they are not representing the seller's best interest and are willing to work with you, you don't want to work with unethical people. If there are listing agents out there who are telling you, if you work with me, I will represent your interest and get your offer accepted, that means they are blatantly telling you they will they are willing to go illegal and represent your best interest while they are in contract to represent the seller's best interest. So when it comes down to working with an agent as a buyer in this market, number one thing you want to avoid is working with a listing agent. Number two thing you want to avoid is working with a friends or family who is a realtor, just because they're your friends or family. You have to make sure that they are qualified and they have experience. There's a lot of agents out there in this market, especially over the last 2 years. A lot of people got licensed and they call themselves realtors, even though they don't have the proper education. They may have gotten lucky and they have 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 or 10 deals under contract and they sold some houses, that does not necessarily mean that it's experience. It is experience, but not good experience, right? If they have not inquire about where they have been educated, right? Who coached them, who trained them, and if they are qualified, I would say yes, work with your friends and family. But know that if something goes south, and in real estate transactions a lot of things do go south, you don't want your relationship to be affected by working with the friends or family who is in real estate. They may or may not have experience. If they don't have experience, if they don't have the expertise, if they don't have the track record to get offers accepted in a competitive market like this, you want to make sure you work with the real estate agents that do, and not just go with your friends or family who, just because they're your friends or family, that's really not going to add any value to your experience. Just because you work with them, if anything, it would actually go south and your relationship with them would be affected. So if you really care about the relationship, if they're not really qualified, don't bother working with them. I myself, even though I had the experience over the past 5 years, you can go in and ask my friends and family if I have actively looked for business in my friends and family or in my inner circle of my sphere of influence, only because to me the relationship mattered more than just doing business. And even though business is everywhere, right? Especially if you're in real estate, your sphere of influence is your business. I just don't, in my inner circle, people that I care about, I don't actively get business from them because I care about their relationship more. And then not don't have, just because you might have, there's another thing to avoid when you're a buyer. Just because you might have a friends or family who may or may not be a real estate agent, and they have purchased a house in the last 2 to 5 years to 10 years ago, know that their experience in buying houses, just because they went through the house buying process and they know how the process works, they are completely disconnected with the market trends. They don't know how the market's operating. So when taking advice from a cousin or a friend or a family member who might have purchased a house in the past, when taking advice from them, be careful and learn that if they have the right experience. This is a very different market than even last year. And last year was a different market than 2020. And then 2020 was a different market than 2019 and 2018 altogether, right? So markets ever changing, and you cannot take the same approach you took in 2018 or 2017 or even before that. You cannot have the same mindset. So if you are a buyer in the market who is looking to purchase a home, you have to understand that you have to take the mindset of a buyer in 2022. I literally had to see what year it is, but you have to take the mindset of a buyer in 2022 if you're looking to be a buyer in 2022. And you have to work with an agent who has the mindset of 2022, who is updated on what's going on with the market, who is knowledgeable, who has had the expertise in being competitive in this market, and who has a proven track record where they have a consistent a record of consistent record of getting offers accepted in a competitive market. So if the easy way to kind of minimize that list for you would be look at agents who have done a lot of business over the last 2 years specifically, and not just any business. They cannot just be a listing agent. They're not a good buyer agent. If they're a listing agent, they have not helped a lot of people compete in multiple offer situations. They were on the other end of the experience, right? So their experience may not be as relevant for you. You want to make sure you work with an expert buyer agent who has the experience and who has the knowledge of operating in a market that is this competitive. So that's it for the buyers. For those of you who are listening who have the plans to purchase maybe in the next 2 or 3 years, you want to make sure that you work with someone who is an expert in representing buyers and working in a competitive market. Now, I know a lot of people are still pessimists. I'm talking to people all the time who are always telling me, oh, this market's going to go down. And a lot of agents specifically, when I see agents do this, that just gets to my nerves, is that to make buyers hopeful of the market, they say, oh, there will be more inventory. Don't worry. This year is the year, right, of the inventory. And all this false hope. Stop giving your buyers false hope and educate them on reality. You don't have to do guesswork here. You just have to look at patterns. You just have to look at patterns of what the market was over the last 3 years, and just like look at if there is something that's coming up that's going to break that pattern. And if you don't see anything significant that's coming up that's going to break that pattern, interest rates rising is not a reason for the demand to go down. If anything, demand will rise like hell, right? If anything, interest rate going up will raise the demand like hell. There were a lot of people who were very, very comfortable when the interest rate dropped. They were very fearful, and as the situation changes and interest rate starts climbing up, people will start becoming more optimistic, and at the same time they will start feeling fear of missing out. So there will be a lot of demand, and there is a lot of optimism for the market. So if you're a buyer, you want to be aggressive with your approach. Now let's talk to the agents, right? I get a lot of agents always asking me like, hey, give me your script on how to talk to a listing agent when you are submitting an offer on highest and best, right? I don't want to give you a script, okay? I don't want you to use a script. I want you to know the principle. When it comes to representing a buyer and talking to a listing agent, if you have gone this far, it's kind of too late to kind of ask for a script, okay? You have to understand your approach to getting your buyer and their offer accepted into a house. Your approach does not start when they have found that house. It's too late. What I would like you guys to do, right? And I get a lot of pushback for saying this a lot of times, is that consultation thing, right? Like nobody wants to do this consultation thing, especially in the world of Zillow, right? Zillow is actually telling you not to do consultations, right? Just go show them the house, right? Especially in a time like this, I get it. Okay, I get it why there is this pushback. But if you are not doing proper consultation with your buyers, you are already serving them in a platter, no house, right? If you are not consulting your buyer properly, so step number one, those of you who are watching, if you want to get your offers accepted, step number one, what you want to do and what you want to implement in your business model is consultation. You want to make sure you have done the homework on your buyer and you have had your buyers do the homework on the market. You have to make sure you have an education platform set up, education process set up for all of your buyers to educate them on what it takes to purchase a house in this market. If you have not done that, if you have not done the proper consultation with your buyer, and what does a proper consultation include? Of course, it comes with discovery, right? Finding out why your buyer wants to buy. A lot of people, out there, a lot of agents, I talk to a lot of agents who are, going out there and making their buyer be very, very aggressive in purchasing a house, when if the proper consultation was done, you could have found out that they don't even need to buy a house, right? They don't. If once the proper consultation is done, you would find out the buyer doesn't even need a house. They just feel like they need a house, and because there was no proper consultation done, you have done them a disservice, and you have made them progress into the home buying process, and you're making them be aggressive on purchasing house, and you're gonna make them purchase a house over the market value, and this is a complete chaos, right? So for that, you need to do a proper consultation. For that, you need to do your homework to find out, does your buyer even need to buy? So do a need versus want analysis, right? Make sure you do a need versus want analysis. Find out why they're looking to move. What are their current struggles in the living situation, and what type of home they would need to solve that struggle, and what would be going overboard, right? When looking at their finances, just because their finances allow them to purchase a house for 450, 500,000, and you have an ambition to become a luxury agent, just because your buyers finances support $500,000 price range, and you got excited about that, and you completely ignored need versus want analysis, right? You are going to do a disservice to your client, especially going into the next conversation that I will talk about, right? So you have to be crystal clear. Not only you have to be crystal clear, your buyers have to be crystal clear through your education, is what is their need versus what is their want, and do that analysis to help them decide. Don't decide for yourself. I don't decide for myself. Even though if I see something like, hey, from the looks of it, your housing need right now probably can be resolved with $250,000, and I see that you make a lot of money and you can spend $500,000. After I do the need versus want analysis, I don't tell them like, hey, you shouldn't buy the $500,000 house. I just do the analysis, and that's all we have to do. We have to bring the facts and figures in front of our clients and just present the facts and figures and help them decide. You will see most of the time the buyers know exactly what they need. They just want, right? So when you present this need versus want analysis, it helps them understand like, hey, maybe I don't have to be this drastic, and there's a reason why you want to do this need versus want analysis with what I will share in next few minutes. Once you go to the need versus want analysis, figure out the must haves of your buyer, right? Like a big yard or a big front yard or a fenced yard or a fireplace and basement and this and that, but don't go over five. So five must haves that your buyer, usually what I do for my business is I just let my buyer go all over the place with the must have. Like, hey, I give them a blank sheet of paper and be like, write down all your must haves, and they come up with 30 things. Then I tell them pick five from this 30. Right. So in this market, as far as must haves, I know a lot of people have different approaches to this, but for me, they can have five must have. But if we find a house with three of those must haves, we are making an offer. And if we find a house with four of those must haves, they must buy this house, or they will never find another one like this. And if they find a house with five must haves, you are like, that's a unicorn. You gotta buy it. You gotta buy that one. Narrow down my clients' five must regarding the property and their living situation, and that's the approach I take when it comes to like matching their must-haves, which I will share when it comes to presenting the offer. That you go back and do the must-have analysis when you have found the right house. So a consultation must have the must-have analysis. You have to come up with five must-have and decide on that through the consultation before you start the house hunting. And once you have your must-haves, what you want to do is you want to educate your client about the market. What is the market like? Where are we going 5 years from now? Where are we going 10 years from now? Right. So based on their living situation, if they're purchasing a house for 5 years, you need to know. If they're purchasing a house for their lifetime, you need to know, because it does make a huge difference on the approach of being aggressive or not when it comes to on the market. Right. So if they're just purchasing a house for just a couple years, short term investment, right, they might not be able to support a huge gap between the market value and the price they pay. Right. But if they're purchasing a property for a lifetime, for 30 years, right, long term investment, it's okay for them to have a big gap between the appraisal value, the market value, and the sold price, if that makes sense to you guys. So it is very, very important to do market education with your buyers, to educate them that this is a very competitive market. Do not just take your buyers into house hunting situation without letting them know this is very aggressive market. If you're not willing to be aggressive, you're probably going to miss out on a lot of deals and be disappointed by wasting your time and wasting your energy in this market. So that is a very crucial point of consultation. And then another thing I educate, and I train my agents to educate the buyers on, is best practices of competing offers. Right, a lot of people don't do this ahead of time. So you don't do this in consultation, and then you go house hunting, and then you have showed them like 30 houses. Right, I know those situations are out there, don't lie. Right, you show them 30 houses and you have found the perfect house, and now they're asking you, why do I have to compete? Right, so if they're clueless, you have done them a disservice by not consulting them properly. So in consultation, talk about the best practices of competing offers, talk about what happens when there are competing offers, and how does things go. How do Someone just texted me asking if I want to sell one of my rental properties, but no, I don't want to sell. But so you have to talk about best practices of competing offers once before, way before they get into that situation. Otherwise, you have already lost. You have already lost. Your buyers have already lost because they are ignorant on the matter until they fell into the situation, which is most cases. I find this very common among most buyer agents, that they don't bother talking about aggressive market. They don't bother talking about multiple offers because they don't want to scare their buyers away. They just want to keep them blind until they fall into the situation, and now they will try to fix it. Right now they will try to educate you. Don't, if you have a buyer agent that has not done anything that I have said so far, it's time to fire him. You don't even have to watch the rest of the video, just fire that guy. But talking about best practices of competing offers is very, very important. I probably don't have time to go over the best practices of competing offers today, but just know that there are best practices of competing offers. Maybe I will share a video later to talk about best practices. Also offer terms. Give them, if you're a buyer agent, you're consulting them properly, educate them on offer terms, right? Different things like inspection contingency, like appraisal guarantee, like escalation clause, like all these things need to be educated. Buyer need to be educated on long before they go house hunting, right? And if they are educated on these things, you will avoid a lot of pitfalls. You would avoid a lot of going back and forth with your buyer and listing agent and all those things. If you could just educate your buyer on the consultation. I know it's a lot of information to share with a buyer, and I promise you all those buyers will appreciate your approach of educating them. And all you have to do is throughout the process, after the consultation, after the education is done, all you have to do is refer back to the training that you have done in training and educating that you have done in the consultation, right? Now, the last thing after the consultation, before you go into house hunting, right? If you're an agent, last thing you want to do before you go into house hunting, if you are a buyer, also, I call it the acronym KTN, right? KTN. Know the numbers. You have to know the numbers. It does not matter if your buyer is a FHA, if your buyer is a VA, if your buyer is a conventional. Doesn't matter the terms of their mortgage. You have to know the numbers. You have to know what is the minimum amount they need to qualify for the mortgage, and you have to know what is the maximum amount of equity they have to invest initially into purchasing their house. You have to know the cash in hand. And a lot of buyers would not share with you unless you ask. So in the consultation, I have a process of educating the buyers on these things, and then actually getting into their pocket, like literally put your hand in their pocket. I'm just kidding, don't do that, but ask them, like, how much money do you have in your bank accounts, and aside from your bank accounts, how much money maybe you can borrow, right? There are a cushion. And what are other things you would have to purchase, right? People would have, like, some people would have like a plan to purchase plan to purchase furnitures and everything after, right? So they have some money set aside. Even though that's their plan, you still want to know that that's available to you before you go into house hunting. So when you come across a property that meets 5 must-haves, you need to know that you have to provide your buyer with the option to spend every dollar they have, right? You have to provide the buyer the option to spend every dollar they have, because this house meets 5 must-haves. Their 5 must-haves is more important than what you think and what your high values tell you, right? Know one thing, right? Before I go into offer instructions, before I tell you how to submit your highest and best offer, you have to get this thing through your head, is that it's not about you and your expertise. If you're a buyer agent out there, and I know this is a heated conversation, and I always, like, people are attacking me on social media for like telling people like, hey, go all in for your buyers, be aggressive on the offers. Like, people will be like, oh, so you're gonna tell your buyers to offer 50,000 over asking price? Asking price is irrelevant. Asking price is irrelevant. Asking price is irrelevant. So some of the things that you have to fix yourself on is, it is not about you. Don't think it's about you. Trust me, it's not about you. Like, no, you're not gonna live in that house. Probably like 5 years from now, everybody will forget you sold that house, right? So it is not about you, and it is not about what you think is right. It is not about what you think is right. Whether you think paying 50% over asking price with a full appraisal guarantee is wrong in this market, it's irrelevant. What matters is your buyer's needs. What matters is your buyer's situation that you are assigned to solve. You're not assigned to like execute on your free will, right? You're not assigned this position of buyer agency just so you can show off your expertise. Just know that it's not about you. It is not about you. It's not about what you think. It's not about what you know. It's not about what you think your buyer should do, right? It's about what is right for them at this moment, right? And I have already talked about, when you're doing consultation, if you have asked the right questions, you know the right answers, and you can make most suitable decision for your buyer. But more than anything, you're not the decision maker, and you're not making any decision here. A lot of buyer agents out there I saw, they think of themselves as gods, right? They think they know better than what is good. They know better for what's good for their buyer. If you have a buyer agent that, of course, buyers love that fact that the buyer agent is acting as if like he's buying the house, right? Don't do that. Don't like act as if you're buying the house. You're not. That's the reality. You're not going to live in that house for one day. It's not your house, and you're not buying it. So don't act like you are buying the house. And don't tell your buyers this cheesy marketing pitch that, oh, I will help you buy a house like it's mine. No, it's not, right? Present the facts and figures for your buyer to make the best decision. That's your job. That's why you're assigned in this position. That's what you are hired for, is to present facts and figures and let them decide what is good for them. So once you have fixed your head on knowing the numbers and knowing that it's not about you, right? And understanding that what matters to your client and their needs is utmost priority, even over your expertise, even over your $1 trillion opinion, right? It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what your opinion is. It's not about you. So with that said, I want to get into quickly, give you an overview of what I have done and what I am teaching my agents to get offers accepted. We are very aggressive on fighting for our buyers who have the need for us to fight for them and be aggressive for them. And throughout 2021, when I was leading my team, I worked on most of the highest and best offer situations, and we were able to win because we did our homework. We have a process set up of serving buyers in this market that is aligned with the market. We do exactly what is required for us to learn our buyer situation, not just them personally, not just connecting with them, not just this fluff connection, but actually we get into the pockets of our buyers, know exactly how they are financially, know exactly what they need and what are their wants, what are their want versus need analysis to make the decisions for them and to bring the right facts and figures to them for them to make the right decision. We are able to see by doing our discovery and doing our consultation, doing all this analysis on them, and doing the knowing the numbers on their finances, we are able to see what decision they are supposed to make, but we don't make those decisions for them. We present the facts and figures to them so they can make the best decision. Now, if you have done this so far, you qualify to apply everything that's going to come after. But if you are not running your business this way so far, I would highly suggest you stop watching this video. And 95% of people who are watching this video probably fall into this category. So if you have not done everything that I said so far, you want to make sure that you don't apply the rest. Okay. But if you agree with everything I said, maybe you maybe or maybe not, you have these things implemented, I would highly suggest that try to implement these things. It is in your buyers, if it is in your client's best interest for you to operate this way as a consultant rather than as a decision maker for them. You don't want to be a decision maker for your buyers because you are not purchasing the house for them. So anyway, I'm just gonna get into explaining what it should be that you should do when making offers in multiple offer situation, right? So if you have done your homework, if you have done your education of the buyers, if you have done everything, you're out there showing houses. First thing what we do is, let's just say you just showed a house, right? These are step-by-step process. You can quickly, this is the blueprint. I'll probably do a more detailed training later, but these are step by step. If you can take this down, maybe jot it down. The first step we do after showing a house that our buyer is remotely interested in, we call the listing agent and connect with them. The first goal is to connect with the listing agent, call them, appreciate them to allow you to show the house, acknowledge the good things in the house, mention the thing, mention positive and genuine feedback to the listing agent verbally on the phone about the house. This is the first way to connect with them. Give them genuine feedback, and also mention how your buyer is interested in this property and you're potentially writing an offer. Make a connection with the listing agent, and making a connection with the listing agent at this point is very, very crucial when it comes down to getting your deal done. If you have not made that connection, and if you lack the connection, and if you lack the conversation skills, you want to call your broker to call this listing agent. And I know a lot of us are busy and don't want to do this for every showing our buyer goes to and likes the property. But if you have done the homework, the buyer shouldn't like a property they shouldn't like, right? So they will, if it's a house that meets 3 of their 5 must have, you know they should make an offer, right? So as if even if they don't tell you that they want to make an offer, you still want to call them ahead of time. And you also want to convince your buyer, like, hey, this house have 3 things that you must want. We don't have to be aggressive on making the offer, but we should make an offer and not let this house go. We might come across another house like this because, it doesn't meet all of your must-haves. But if it meets 4 of their must-have, you gotta buy that house. And 5 is just impossible. I don't think anyone can find any house with 5 of their must-have in this market. But anyway, first thing you want to do is connect with the list agent. Second thing you want to do is do a must-have analysis with the buyer. So to ask them, like, hey, Mr. John or Mrs. Smith, you got these 5 must-have. Am I correct? And this house meets 4 of them. Am I correct? And what do you think about that? Like, this house is able to serve 4 of your 5 must-haves. And in my opinion, right, you can tell them that that's very rare in this market. What do you think about that? What does that mean to you, right? Be able to find a house that meets 3 to 4 of your must-haves, right? And do an analysis and show them that how important this house is before you move forward and before you talk numbers, right? Before you do the comps. Third thing you want to do is comping the property right. And this is where most agents come wrong when they're buyers, right? Comping the property to make the best offer. You look at past 6 months data, right? It's good to look at past 6 months data when you're comping, right? But what you have to understand, in 6 months, the amount of appreciation has happened on this property. In the next 6 months, it might be more drastic. So what we do is we look at past 6 months data to project the next 6 months price for this house in the market. And we suggest that to be the highest offer we should make on the market. So today's market value, today's asking price, and even today's comp value, where what appraisers are looking at, is irrelevant with a market that is on a full tilt mode, right? On a market that has no signs of slowing down, in a market where we don't see anything coming drastically to break this pattern of upswing, right? So in today's market, there is no reason for us to comping a property 6 months back, because we know the market's going up. So even if they were to, and another thing that I get pushback on a lot of times, like, why would you make buyers buy something that is 6 months ahead, right? Why would they pay for prices that are 6 months away, right? Why would they pay for that price now? Because they're not buying the house for 6 months. They're buying the house for 2 year, 5 year, 10 year, 15 years, right? And in that 5, 10, 15 years, nobody can project what the market would be. If someone says, I know what the market's going to be like in 10 years, they're lunatic or they're liars, right? So if they're not buying the house for 6 months only, you want to tell them to buy it if the house meets 4 or 5 of the must-haves. Now, if that happens, you want to make sure to educate your buyer on what the market comp would be, or what would be the potential appraisal value. Nobody could correctly guess that. You can always project that, and use that as your threshold of making offers. That's more educated, that's coming from a more educated place than just guessing what it should be, right? It's not going to go nowhere. But if you have made a connection with the listing agent, that will go a long way. Once your buyer has decided to make an offer, you verbally and ask them that if there is activity going on, or if there is any other offers that you should be aware of. While you're making this connection, you want to also look at, right? You want to also look at and ask the listing agent what is important to the seller, right? Before you decide on making an offer and before you decide on the terms, you have to figure out in the first conversation what is important to the seller. Are they looking at possession time? Is that a concerning matter to them? Are they looking at like appraisal guarantees? Are they looking at highest price? What's more important to them? And you will see a lot of times what's more important to the seller is not the price. It's not the price. So when listing when these like inexperienced, let's just call them inexperienced buyers agents or buyers agents are calling listing agents first thing and asking what's the highest offer you got, you you need to wake up and read a book. You need to wake up and read a book, right? So you need to understand that price is irrelevant. It's the demand that makes a deciding factor in every transaction. It's the demand of the seller, is the demand of the buyer, is what determines the terms of every sale, not the price. So don't get to the price too fast. Find out what's more important to the seller from the listing agent by building a connection with them first. Like if you're just and I'll tell you out there, like listing agents out there who are doing a great job, right? We want to maintain a good relationship with you. Is that I get it. Like you got all these immature buyer agents calling you, like tell me the offer. Understand these, but this buyer agents. When you're calling a listing agent and telling him to expose the highest offer, right, or tell you the offer the seller will accept, you're literally disrespecting him. You're telling him that I think you're an unethical person and I don't think you have your client's best interest in mind. So just tell me what they would accept so we can get paid, right? Understand that that's not really an ethical practice. You don't have to go that far to serve your buyers. It's not really serving your buyers. It's really doing them this service because that listing agent may get pissed off and they don't want to work with you. So rather building connection with them, find out what's important with the seller, do a must-have analysis with your buyer, comp the property right in 6 months into the future rather than in the past. Present verbal offers once you decide on terms, and ask them about that feedback before you write the offer. Buyers agents, ask the listing agent, what do you think about this offer? Do you think this is something would intrigue your seller to accept, right? We're not doing that. We're just jumping on the form and like filling it up, freaking out, right? And then sending the offer, waiting. Look, you haven't done the connection. If there is no connection, this deal's not going to happen. You might get lucky and your buy, like if there are buyer agents out there doing this and getting offers accepted without connection, I would say good luck to them because that's all they have. They have, right? So present offers verbally, and then once you present offers verbally and you got a positive response and you have sent the offer, you want to ask for update every 3 hours unless they have set up highest and best offer deadline. You want to make sure that you are top of mind for this listing agent. He knows that you care about your buyer enough, you care about this deal enough to stay on top of it, especially in the beginning of the relationship. So you want to try to get an update every 3 hours and let them know that you care about your buyers a lot and your buyers are anxious about getting this offer accepted. Be relentless, and that's the only thing, that's the last thing I will leave you with. Aside from, it's not about you, it's about your buyers and it's about your clients. Don't try to like make decisions for them. Don't try to think that you know better than them. Just be relentless for your buyers. And buyers out there, if you have relentless agents out there working for you, you are in good hands. And I give you good luck in this market. This is not going to be any usual market. If you're thinking the demand is going to go down, it is not. You want to work with agents that tell you the truth and not just the fluff just to get you to work with them. And that's all I had to share for today. I hope you guys are having a great day, and you guys have a great week.